Hi friends, let me try again to explain what we're trying to do in our sessions. I want you to first think of the word spiritual formation. Let that sink in. We're going to begin with our hearts. We're going to move to our heads. From our heads, we want our heads to inform what we do with our hands. And if we do well with our hands, we leave a hope, a legacy. Okay? Let me do it again. We're going to start with the heart. That's what we love. We're going to move to the head. That's how we lean and how we learn. So I'm going to use those two together. We're going to move to the hands. This is how we live. This is going to be practice, practical, right? How we lead. And then lastly, what we leave. These are going to be our projects. This is a formational model that I use to help leaders account for a way of being congruent, that the walk matches the talk. And unless we are developing a person in all of those areas at the same time, we're likely to have a lopsided developmental experience. Having people who can know a lot of things but can't do a lot of things, or doers who may be tremendously successful but having no idea why they're successful. And for that reason, they're as vulnerable as someone who has failed multiple times but is learning from each failure. If you get these things out of whack, you begin to get distortions and deformations. And I'm trying to, in this class, say there'll be 4 weeks interrupted by 4 other types of weeks where you are going to reflect. So we've created a journal. I went back in today and I put the word so it's nice and big, click here for journal. Some of you can't find it. That's how you'll find it. If you click on it, a box will open and you can type right in there, and only you and I, the professor, will see it. But I'm not coming there to grade it. This is a non-graded item. This is your participation. Go there after you have reflected on these passages that I've linked to each of the modules. Go there, and in light of the reading that you're doing, pray there, talk there, do some heart work there. This is the quadrant that deals with what you love, your priorities. Now the next quadrant, so that's the one I say review. Review all the materials that I upload. Review my slides, my video clips. If I've put articles in there, get your hands in there and begin to review them. That's what they're there for. West is trying to say, hey, this is the stuff I'm thinking about around your heart, your head, your hands, and hope. If you don't care about those things or you don't care about some quadrant, don't queue up about it. But I labeled some, this will be reference, meaning I have referred to it in one of these videos or something. Or supplemental, meaning it's probably been informing me. I want you all relaxed. I'm getting lots of emails and lots of nerves in terms of what does the professor want. I want you to do what you do to get clear about your loves as you read the text of Scripture, as you read these books which are about the nonprofit world, and as you read your own life, your own circumstance. What's going on with you? That's what you put in your journal. Okay, next part. Head. I have told you which chapters for each of the weeks that you're going to concentrate on. As the modules open up for you, you will see the exact same pattern repeated over and over, that now you'll move to the next set of readings inside of Wells. You'll see things downloaded from me, these sort of talkbacks on the video, and I'm going to try to load these with a cookie jar full of goodies that I think will be useful to your, wait for it, heart, head, hands, and the hope that you intend to leave in the world. The pattern will repeat over and over again. Well, that's just the reflect week. You will review the content, the materials. You will, for the Genesis, you will take the head stuff, that's reading Wells, all of the supplemental material that I put out there. You're going to try to get your head around that and see how it pertains to you. So I've created a document for you that comes from the Salvation Army's learning priorities. The coordinators for this program gave me some orientation in terms of what the Corps expects of you. So you're to choose about 3 of those each Reflect week, that you want to prioritize or you think that the reading may pertain to. If you're checking off all 10 or 12 of them, I forget how many as I'm speaking right now, then you're probably going to be scattered. I'm wanting you to get quiet and focus on a few things that pertain to your core, your family, your career, your industry. Someone who's trying to develop a laundromat inside of a neighborhood is in a very different situation than someone who's running a gymnasium with a swimming pool as their responsibility, or developing a capital campaign. These are very different responsibilities, and all you did was got down on your knees and said, Jesus, I'll follow you wherever you want me to go. And now you're running a swimming pool. So you're going to have to identify, and I'm saying only 3. Remember, we will do this 4 times during Reflect Weeks. And I'm saying in this particular module, which of the things you're reading, of the stuff that West put in front of you, the stuff that you're getting from the text of Scripture, your own prayer, and your own life and experience, which of these 3 things come closest to what you want to be taking some notes on and quotes on? So chill out on the other 7. Chill out on the other 12. Whatever it is, I think it's 10 of these things. Relax. Slow down and enjoy a professor who has designed something called Reflect Week, where you review and when you relate and then you report. Well, what's the report? During Reflect Week, while you're taking in all these things, absorbing all these things, this is what I hope happens to you, that it reminds you of a story. It reminds you of, oh my gosh, that reminds me of that time when I took those kids to camp and I thought it was going to be a fiasco because they were so angry and they were so rude to me and one spit on me and all these sort of stories that we all have with one another. And yet something broke for this little girl. Something changed for her and the sun seemed to come out in her life and the story ends happily ever after. And you try to get some analysis on what went on in that situation. You try to portray it to us, but connecting it to what happened, what you experienced inside of the book. So, organizational drama. Then, whenever you go to the films, or you go for a film, or you turn on television, you know the kind of the narrative scheme. Once upon a time, things were normal, but then something happened, right? And after that thing happened, things either went down or things went up, often too fast to control. Comedies usually go up and tragedies usually go down. And somewhere at the peak or at the valley of that set of sequences that came from that conflict, that first conflict, somebody finds something. They find the way, the magic beans or the secret elixir or the Horcrux from before Voldemort gets it or whatever. And then everything changes, but it's usually a fight to the finish. And then after the magical thing is applied, the solution is applied, the scripture that would made the difference, everything is happily ever after. I want you to think in terms of, when I read this section of the book that West has defined, and when I listen to his videos, and when I read these articles, all these things together, you know what? It reminds me of a story of my grandmother and a little church that she was in and how that pastor had to deal with blah, 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 blah. We want you to tell a story, to get your peers not thinking about theory and this sort of thing, but joining you as kind of pastoral analysts, as consultants, and to get them thinking about the book stuff that they have read. I want to have an intelligent conversation with spiritual people who are coming to class prepared. They've gone to the kitchen or the pantry and they've filled their hands with things, and now they've come together and it's going to be Iron Chef 2.0, where we're going to cook together. We're going to talk with one another. I want you to tell your story in such a way that you leave a cliffhanger. You go, what do you think I should have done in that situation? But don't tell them. Let them see what they would do. Now you be ready, because the thing that they may do is criticize your friend who's in the case that you're talking about, your friend at another corps in another district somewhere. You know that friend? You may find that the criticisms or the analysis that they bring may not go in the favor of the storyteller's friend, if you know what I mean. But that's all right. You get to learn from some very wise people who've got a lot of experience, and they've got a serious stake in the game just like you. And if I do well, I am trying to get us beyond the anxiety of what does professor want, to get a group of adults expressing the experiences that they've had and showing themselves good academic students, showing themselves good students approves in a 2 Timothy 3:16 sort of way. Learning from this text, this God-breathed word, putting these things together and saying something that's interesting. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son so that we could be bored. That's why I'm using organizational drama. I want you to capture our attention with a story that doesn't make it obvious as to what someone ought to do. And you say, I would suggest that you read page 119, a page 127, and a page 419 to get some hints as to how you might want to look at this situation. I want you to be the peer instructor. There's often a complaint about classes like these, like they're not practical enough. If you don't take me up on this offer, it won't be practical. We'll have a kind of a thick encyclopedic read of this textbook. But I'm inviting highly experienced leaders who've got a lot of experience in leadership, but we've got to talk to one another to become consultants to one another, and we've got about 7 weeks left. Okay, so that's you designing a report. You're going to review everything I put in there. You're going to relate it to the Salvation Army principles. I've even given you a notepad there. And you're going to be developing a report based on all that comes from there. That's Reflect Week. What about the next week? The next week will function just like most of the classes you have as a threaded discussion. You're going to post your organizational drama, and you're going to say, hey, everybody, come over here and talk about my drama. At least 2 people need to get over there. So you need to keep recruiting to at least 2 people have come and talked with you. But if anybody else comes, you've got to be a good host. That's why I call it posting and hosting. Anybody comes, you are obligated to talk with them, and I will be rendering evaluation if you kind of do your 2 and leave everybody else hanging. That's not a polite host. Leave your home while they're sitting on your living room, right? Come on, they came to talk about your case. So be a good teacher. Don't give them all the clues. Tease them. There may have been a good example in the text of Scripture of someone who asked questions. In fact, he was asked 234 questions, and Jesus only answered about 4. Go check it out. Go check it out. If you don't have a sermon ready this weekend, go look at the questions that Jesus was asked and find out how many he actually answered. In fact, you could read Matthew 13, Mark 4, Luke 6, and find out that the best teachers speak in parables and they don't answer questions. He says, I'm telling you these things just to see if anybody's going to think all the way through them, so that some will not believe. How's that for evangelism, my friends? Jesus, maybe he's a very poor evangelist, not making these things clear enough. No, he wants to find out who's going to work their way through to hard things, because it starts with what you love. That's the bottom quadrant. It moves to how you lean. It affects how you live, which will be expressed in how you lead in your cases. And then it's going to show up in what you leave. So during the respond weeks, you post your story, your organizational drama, and then you host it. And I've got some good news for you. For those who are freaking out going, I don't know how to write a drama, he's creating more nerves for me. I'm going to create a form. If you can give me just a few hours, I'm hoping that before Monday morning gets rolling, that there'll be a form that you can pour your story into, maybe 4 quadrants. I'm trying to think through a way to make it real simple. And we will use that form for the rest of the term. So everything that West wants from you is being either provided as a form you fill out or some screen on the inside of the classroom space, okay? I want the anxiety down. I want the structure of the course to fade in the background. I want these spiritual leaders that I'm getting the opportunity to spend time with, I want you to develop a rhythm of reflecting and responding. Reflecting, responding. This is a leadership cadence that I want you to have in the boardroom. People are running their mouths. There's lots of anxiety gone. You're going to be reflecting and choosing your response. Someone broke into the kitchen and stole the Christmas turkeys. Reflect, respond. Are you getting? I am going to begin exercising this reflex concept into our course space for your what? Formation. The class is a spiritual formation class that prepares you to be the most excellent nonprofit leader that you can be.